This topic is messy and complicated, and there's a lot of hurt involved, and it's something that I have never really seen or heard anyone talk about, and I think that's always a shame, because I think nobody goes through anything really without other people having gone through something similar. And the reason I'm in the car to talk about this is I don't necessarily want to be talking about it with my family hearing about it. So for those of you that have followed us for a long time on here on YouTube, please subscribe. Those that haven't yet, doesn't cost you anything, helps us out. Know a lot about my family and know a lot about my situation with Mark and my husband and Nanny Dy, his mum, my mother-in-law. And why this is complicated and why this is difficult and why this is sad is because I don't think there's a clear baddie and a clear goodie, just like mostly in life there never is. But what I know is my mother-in-law's addictions stole my husband's childhood, stole the chance of a good childhood, and that I'm enormously proud that my husband didn't allow his addictions to do that with our children, because he got sober over 20 years ago. And this is where we get to the problem that I'm having. So I know Mark so well. I know him very, very deeply. I know his heart. I know his heart. And I know how kind he is and how hardworking he is and how fucking difficult it is not to have a drink in a drink-obsessed world. And I also know his faults like he knows mine, of which I have many. And I love him very much. And we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago about Nanny Dy's illness. Nanny Dy is now 100% dependent on a full care package. She can't walk, she can't look after herself at all anymore, and the doctors have said this is down to her pharmaceutical addiction. Now, everything I'm saying here, Nanny Dy has spoken about. I'm not betraying any trusts here. She's always been very open on this channel about things, and Mark has been very open about his relationship with his mum. But I have a real worry, and the worry is that none of us are just one thing, are we? And Nanny Dy is very loved on this channel, and loved by all of us, and we feel very protective of her and all those things. But she's also a very honest woman, which I really admire about her. And she knows that she has most of her life, in fact she said this just the other day to Mark, been very selfish. She has always done exactly what she wanted, when she wanted, how she wanted, without really taking anyone else. Just going to move this a bit because the sun is crazy. Without really ever thinking about how anything impacts on anyone else. Honestly, she says this about herself, so. Which has all been very jolly and very jolly JP, and we've all laughed about it over the years, and we've laughed about her drug addiction and her alcoholism and all of that. And she did actually get sober 10 years ago, 10 years after Mark did, from alcohol. But she has, at a pace, been overdoing, let's say, her pharmaceutical drugs, the drugs that have been given to her by the doctor and by the pharmacist, and at the same time not eating, or just eating just exactly how she wanted, loads of cakes, loads of sweets, loads of biscuits, not eating any proper meals, not exercising, not doing anything Mark begged her to do, not getting attended to, and not attending to any of the things that she needed to physically. Just no, I'll do everything my way, which, you know, a lot of us are like. I'll probably be exactly the same. But, and this is the big but, and this is the big problem that I'm having, and we spoke about this on the podcast that we did a couple of weeks ago. And thank you so much for your messages under there. You just really did, it meant so much to both of us. But can I just say, I'm just also angry with her. I'm angry with her because now Mark's mental health is stretched, and he has depression and bipolar. His sobriety is tested because she's just unable to look after herself and still doesn't want to do anything about that, doesn't want to engage with the physio, doesn't want to do the things, doesn't want to go and have the scans. Again, that is her choice, and who's not to say I'd be exactly the bloody same? You know, a stubborn older woman that just wants to do everything her way. But there's an impact. There's an impact on her son. And it's the way, isn't it, with everybody, with their parents. We all do it. We all feel guilt. He feels guilty all the time that he doesn't do enough. He feels guilty all the time. He feels sad, like I do. I feel so sad for her, and I feel so sad for where she has ended up, even though it was all avoidable. I always have sympathy for an addict, always, because I don't see addiction as just a choice. I do believe in the disease of addiction, but I believe that some kind of conscience and responsibility will drive some people to be able to get sober. And I know that it was Mark's conscience that got him sober, and his love for his family and his... Now, that is not to say for 1 second that people that don't get sober don't love their families, because they do. But I think it is a disease, and I think it is a disease that some people can conquer and others can't, right? And on the podcast, I talked about how much sympathy and empathy I had for Nanny Dy when I first knew her, and Mark was actually much more estranged from her, and I pushed him to have the relationship with her because I knew it was so important, because he didn't have a dad, it's so little family. So I had to find my peace with her the more I found out about his childhood, which was fucking horrible. It was really horrible. I had to find my peace, and I had to find my forgiveness, and I had to open my heart more to love her, even when the times that I reached out to her when Mark was really struggling with his mental health and she was not available. I had to work really hard, and I have worked really hard, and I'm really proud of myself of working really hard at that relationship. And I am a bit blindsided by this part of it all, because you know, when you're growing up, you think about your parents, don't you? You think about your parents as they get older, and you think about how you would respond and what you would do, and you think about, oh, you know, how would I look after my mom? How would I look after my dad? You know, when they need me. And my mum and dad have looked after all of us so brilliantly right to this day. I'm just looking at my mum and dad's house there. They live right next door to me. And still now they are the centre of this family, and any one of us and the grandchildren could call them and ask. Like, if I needed my mum now with all her aches and pains and everything, she would be round here in a minute. She's 87. She always put us first. And so it's very easy, the thought of, no, it's not easy, it's never easy to look after elderly people, but there's no question, you know, it's the way of the world, isn't it? They care for you, they love you, they look after you, they put you first, and then you care for them when they can't care for themselves. And, you know, we have offered Nanny Dy to come and live with us. And in fact, I said it to Mark because I knew he would be feeling a certain kind of way, you know, because it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult enough when it's our own parents, but when it's somebody, you know. And I did my duty, because I believe it's my duty. She's elderly and he's my husband, and I love her, and she's the grandmother to our children, and I love him, and she's the grandmother of our children. And so, you know, Nanny Dy being Nanny Dy, when we said, listen, you can come and live with us, she, oh God, no thank you, you'll drive me mad and I'll drive you mad. And it just wouldn't work, and our house is a chaotic madhouse and all of that. And like most people, she wants to stay in her own home, but she is dependent on Mark. And it just feels so fucking weird, because in a way he's always had to look out for and look after her because of the chaos, of addiction, right? The chaos of addiction, the fucking chaos of addiction, and all that it bleeds into relationships and families. And there'll be many people that are dealing with people that are addicted to pharmaceutical drugs, you know, and you don't get the same sympathy and the same understanding, right? Like if you've got a relative who's drinking 3 bottles of whiskey or on the heroin or on whatever, they go, oh, addicts, man, you know. But if it's a pharmaceutical situation, there isn't that same understanding, and it's very, 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 very difficult to manage my feelings, because my feelings are really fearful, because I see Mark suffering so much with the fear and panic of what's to come, and what she wants and what she demands. And still, you know, as is the way, you know, loads of people will have this with their elderly. She's only 75 though, she's young. And, you know, maybe you've got a mother-in-law or a mother or a father or somebody that's still drinking heavily. You know, it's hard. It's really fucking hard, and it doesn't make you a bad person to say, listen, I have all this sympathy and empathy for this person who's suffering so much, but I'm also pissed off. And I'm pissed off because he has worked to stay sober for the sake of his children. And that cannot be compromised, that cannot be risked. And his mental health has to be cared for, because the two are tied in, right? Mark started drinking because he had bipolar, probably. The psychiatrist said that he was probably became bipolar at the age of about 7 or 8, when things were so chaotic and so difficult, like a PTSD of a child, really, because of what he was living in and living under. And that's not my story to tell, what was going on in his childhood, but trust me, it was bad. And so that lonely child, that frightened child that went through a lot and spent a lot of time on his own, and his mum, who I feel sorry for, who was in her own chaos of addiction and not having a great time, and he pushes through, he goes to university, he gets a first, he's like a brilliant student. You know, when he was a child, he got double pneumonia because where he was living was damp, he wasn't getting proper food, all of that. He pushed through everything. Pushed through everything. Then alcoholism, and then alcoholism and drugs, and then he gets sober over 20 years ago. Stay sober. And here we are. Here we are. And addiction is in the center of our family again, and it's very fucking frightening. It's frightening for me watching, but it's much more frightening for him. But it's frightening in a different way if you're watching, isn't it? And frightened in a different way, and if you have to be like thinking, doing, saying the decent thing. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? And so many of us are in that sandwich generation where we've got our kids still at home, we've got our elderly that we care for deeply and want to make things better for. And my parents are just so precious to me, and they don't even let me really look after them at all. But there's such a history of care and love from them, and so much care to their health. You know, they eat, always aware of what their actions, how their actions impact on their health and therefore impact on their family. And Mark's mum has lived her life like a 14-year-old child, just doing everything the way that she wants. Come on, Nanny Dy, you know it's true. Diet Coke all day long, crisps and sweets all night long, and there's a fucking payment for it, isn't there? You know, a couple of years ago, she was told that she had 100% inflammation and in her body, and every single time we saw her, we would give her ideas and different ways we would support her to get healthier, to exercise, to eat better, offer her, you know, osteopaths and homeopaths and everything. No, 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 no. And here we are. And it's really fucking hard. Sorry, I had to just take 5 minutes. So what do I want to say? I want to say it's okay to feel all the different things that you feel in these hard times, and you don't have to be fucking perfect in your feelings, and you can be angry, and you can be sad, and you can be sympathetic, and you can be all those things, and you can be pissed off. You can be pissed off with the unfairness of it. And if there's anyone listening to this, watching this, who is dealing with an addict in any way whatsoever, in any way, know what that feels like. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I know what that feels like. And sometimes just somebody else saying I know what that feels like can just help you a little bit when you are feeling lost and thinking that you're the one who's round the bloody bend. That's it, I suppose. Yeah. So what about you? Tell me, what about you? Has any of this resonated? Tell me how you get through. Because it is okay to love somebody and to also find everything that they've done so fucking frustrating, which is what I think about my mother-in-law. Please hit the subscribe button, and it doesn't cost you anything, and hit the notification bell, and then you'll always be notified when something new pops up. Big hugs.